My name is Teresa Rhyne, and I'm the choral director here at Auburn Junior High School, and I was proud to have my students in my school selected to be part of this composer in residency program.
And I am Rosephanye Powell, and I am the composer, and I am at Auburn University, and it has just been a wonderful journey to be a part of this residency.
My name is Tyler Pilz. I'm a recent Auburn University graduate in both music performance and education, and I was a student intern while they were learning and going through this process, and I'm also a former student of Ms. Dr. Powell.
I am always looking for opportunities for my kids to have something a little outside of the normal day-to-day choral world, and so I was thrilled to have this opportunity for them. And it's unique. It's not going to come around very often, I don't think, and I knew these girls were sharp enough to figure some things out, to join in on the process, to participate, to begin to find ownership in the process, and I'm glad they've had the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, I came into it, and it seemed like a big feat, an undertaking for a junior high school. You know, you go in and you're like, what can these kids really do? And I had, I guess, set limits to what I thought they could do, and they just exceeded all of them.
And the process has been a wonderful process for me as well. You know, as a composer, I am used to people giving me a text, lyrics, or asking me to create lyrics and then write a song. And so generally, I compose the song, send them the draft, and they tell me, hey, I like this, you know, can we change a note here or there? I don't normally have to do a lot. And so it was a bit scary as a composer to say, okay, these people are going to be part of the process, and some of this I might not like. Right. And, you know, but I've got to figure out how to make the dynamic work. And I thought we worked really well together, and it turned into more than I thought it would be. And just from hearing what previous composers had done, I think our process was a lot more involved in, you know, in getting that idea from Rollo to allow them to have that a part in coming up with the lyrics. So that was the first thing, but then also allowing them to be a part of the process of even developing the melody. And having a pianist, she's also a pianist, so having her understanding of what happens with the piano, with the ideas, we were working very closely from the very beginning. So the process was a wonderful journey, but it was quite detailed, and if the dynamics had not been what they were between Mrs. Rhyne and myself and the girls and Tyler, it could have been very different. And that's the scary part as a composer. And it was wonderful to be able to kind of guide them, even when they didn't know I was guiding them, to what should be the next move. The process just turned out to be I think a learning process for all of us.
I think so, and I mentioned this earlier, but not only did they learn from you as a composer, but they had the chance to learn from you as a clinician, as a voice teacher, as a musician, as a choral person. And I was glad that she was willing to come in as often as you did. We were able to work out an agreeable schedule for everyone, around her schedule, around my schedule, around the kids preparing for concert and so forth, and state assessment and so forth. So that was just a real treat to be able to work that out and not feel like, okay, I have to give this time up. Or my students have to spend time. Right. So it was a great process.
So they're all in there, we're like going over a certain section of the song, and I was like, guys, do you know how big of a deal this is, this whole thing? And there was like a pause, and then they just went, no. And so Miss Rhyne was like, all right, you know, I really want you to instill in them the value that this has and what all this is. And so that's what I really tried to reinforce whenever I was working with them in little sectionals, you know, in certain passages, is that I really wanted them to understand how big of a deal this actually was. And I think today we saw that Now they get it.
Well, we mentioned that before, we didn't want them to peak out or max out or go over the top of their energy and desire to create and grow, and they really did hit that peak last night, I think. And a unique position that we've all had is that my intern has a prior relationship with Dr. Powell as voice student and voice studio teacher, so you know, your understanding the big deal was also having a personal relationship, and the unique situation with us having known each other for a number of years. I don't imagine most of your composers and residents have that situation where there's a personal connection, a personal set of experiences to go by in relationship with the other person. So that's kind of a unique thing. It's been great.
Yeah, that has. Yeah, that is because I was her voice professor at my first teaching position out of college, and then to have taught him, to have this relationship, all three of us now at a professional level serving these students. It was a nice journey, I think, to kind of have an idea of what each of us is like. That made a difference, you know.
Absolutely.
And he knows what I'm looking for. She knows what I'm looking for. I've watched her choirs. I know what she's looking for. It was a wonderful dynamic. Yeah.
Yes.
What I hope the students take away from the project is that the music that they sing, first of all, the music that they sing has had a life through the composer before it ever got to them. Like they talked about today, so often they see composers as dead people. When you can see a composer as a living being, and you've now been handed the responsibility of giving life to this thing that was previously created in someone's head and then put on paper, now it's your responsibility, which is what we talked about, to deliver that to the audience. And I think through this process, I think that they came to understand their job is to touch the hearts of people.
And our community is largely show choir driven, and I bring that up just to say that very often the choral students feel that they cannot be animated or expressive or connect to the audience like most show choirs are taught to do. So we talk about the fact that choir and show choir are both audio-visual. One just may have a little more physical to it, but the audio, of course, is what people hear, and the visual is what they see. And you know, the unique thing about choral music is the text. We've talked about that, unlike band music, getting the text across, and hopefully getting some, you know, vibes back from the audience. Just like show groups tend to do, choral groups can do that same thing. They should do those same things.
As long as you've got the choir members, the director, and the composer all understanding what the end is, you can work through the challenges. And I tell you, and my challenge, I will say to some extent, is, you know, as a composer, because it is so personal, you know, and I don't know what the experience has been with some of the conductors. I know you said it's not always the case where it's so involved. That is a scary place, because once you invite people in, I had to receive what she said about the accompaniment. I had to receive when I had certain chords, I heard them go into a certain place. You know, there are a couple of places now still the chord bothers me a little bit, because in my ear I heard it going somewhere else. But just everybody being open, there were some things I didn't change that they changed. All of us just we're open to say, okay, I can compromise on this. I really prefer, as a matter of fact, like in the accompaniment, I changed it to the 2/8 notes, but changed the bass to make the bass swing it more. You know, just again, trying to just make it be the project that's all of ours. So you know, I could see, depending on the temperament of a composer, you know, some don't want you to touch too much of what they do, you know, but just making sure they understand, you know, to be open. I think the composer will get more out of it as he or she interacts more, and I imagine some probably interacted less. I feel like this song grew and grew by me just interacting, which is why the song kept changing up until the day, because every time we rehearsed, I said, oh, okay, I can take this out and make this simpler, because I saw them, when I changed a part in the bass, I saw them react to that, so I said, okay, I'll swing it more in the bass, make the right hand simpler.
That was one of the amazing things to me, is that it did change so much from the very beginning, and yet the girls were able to adapt to that. You know, they didn't just sing what they did day one. You know, they were able to work with you guys and adapt to the new thing. Maybe it was happening on a certain day, and you changed it back. Their voices were, and minds were malleable. In a
That
sense,
was
and
wonderful.
They could go back and forth and remember the changes that were made.
The fact that the composition or the project, I think, went longer than I expected it to, which is fine, because, like I said, it culminated at the right time. But I don't know that I thought beforehand that we would all be so involved with each other, which was as it should be. But if you're willing to be vulnerable and listen and throw ideas around and suggest and try and rearrange, and okay, we're back to the original idea now after 3 weeks. You know, it made for maybe a longer process than I thought it might be, but it was the right process for us at this time and with this group of students.